started. Now, might go back into Blender or something and try to do some more stuff. We'll see. Depends where you want to go with it. Maybe, why not? So welcome to another day of Feedback Thursday. You already know how we do it. So yeah, if you would like feedback, just put it in the link that I gave you guys, and we'll go from there. Yeah. And I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are having a good old time. And there's a way to move this. It's gotta do this. Shift right mouse. Huh. That's fine. But what's going on, everyone? Hope you're all having a good day. I am just going to try some more modeling stuff and see how it works. That is weird. I bisected it. Well, maybe not that weird. Well, I guess it wasn't on the thing to begin with. Maybe that's why. Well, you know what? Who cares? Love me bisect. Cool. All right. Oh no, I didn't do it right. Well, I guess that solves that problem. Cool. Now let's see if that works. Got it. Dang, my dog is eating that thing super hard right now. That's funny. Dang, Toby. forget anything? Shifty. Cool. Nice. Let's subtract. Oh, that's cool. Let's apply it. All right. Let's make some. Oh, you know what? I can. Oh, why is that not working? No, let me not do the Boolean yet. Cool. Alright, now maybe you can have this. Sorry, my dog is like eating a bone right now, and it is like super loud. But who am I to tell him that he can't have his bone? He's been pretty good today, so I'm gonna let him have it. But for real though, Tobes, you gotta relax. Alright, so let's see if I can get another render in. In the meantime, we'll see if people drop stuff in. Prop design thing for feedback. Oh, Jalen, you put something in there. Sorry, I forgot. I can't see the Facebook chat, and then that's why that happens, because I'm an idiot. All right. Let's ignore this. Actually, let me. You know what? All right. Part of me is like, let's actually like get this going. All right. Some like, ooh, make some like Star Wars type shit. I don't know. Something. Okay. You put something in there. Let's see what you got. Prop design. I mean, I guess. I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you. All right. You look over here. File requests. Feedback Thursday. Wait, where'd you put it? Hold on a second. Huh? That's weird. I don't think it's loaded yet. Did you just put it in there? Because it's probably loading. That's probably what it's doing. If I had to guess. Okay. We'll wait for it to load. I'm going to have this on the side. Because it still says it's loading up. So we'll see what's good. Dog, I tagged you in this. Okay, sorry. Well, is it not loading yet? I don't know. You know what? Let's do a test here. I'm gonna upload a file real quick and see if it works. Upload. 100%. So why is it not showing up in here? Because that's where it showed up last time. So let's go. File requests. Feedback Thursday. I guess it's just taking time. So I don't really know right now. Let's see. I'm going to go to the actual thing. Okay, here we go. So it's in there. It's just taking time for whatever reason to actually get in there. So we'll just download it, like actually to the place. And then that should just make it faster. So now it's like in there. Yeah. So cool. So let's see here. This is what you have. So this actually might even be some Blender type stuff, you know? That's interesting. So what is this? Out of curiosity. So let's see. Because it looks like some kind of like looks like some kind of or crate or something. That's what it looks like. Some kind of visual interesting crate. Let's see. The brief was okay. Let's see what the brief was. So he's typing it in right now. We're gonna find out what the brief is, and then we're gonna see transportational crates. So I think the idea is there, but I think it's a little bit just too simple. So then, like, I would start to really look at like transportation crates. So I think you got the stacking part down pretty well. I'm just curious if we can kind of take like something like that is like really cool to me, because there's a lot of why I like that is because I'm gonna drag this image onto your thing actually. You know what? I'll just that's even cooler too. Oh, so it opens. Oh, that's really cool. You know what? I'm gonna screen cap this. Click to zoom. Oh, nice. Can I save the image? How do I save this image? You know what? I'll just screen cap it. Stop capping. Alright, so we got that. And all we want is that. Cool. So this is just like one of the many things that we could be doing, as I think is like evaluating like what makes something look interesting. And so this is really cool too, just because I like how it opens actually. It's really, really cool. So I'm wondering if we can utilize some of that too. Let's get some more things in here. So it'd be nice to kind of see your sketches if you had any. So I feel like that's kind of important if we're going to look at like what's going to make a cool transportation crate. But so I'd look at something like that, and then I'd look at something kind of like offhand. So like these are kind of interesting, right? The shape of this crate, like that kind of stuff is really visually interesting. That's kind of interesting as well, just because it's like there's like a little bit of a diagonal shape going into it. So you're looking at like actual shapes. Here's a really good thing right here. This is great reference. Just because you can see like how that might be like possibly modeled, I guess would be probably a good way to look at it. So we'll take a look at that. We'll open that up and I'm gonna drag this off, and then we're gonna drag that on. So there's all kinds of stuff that we could be using, right? So we got that, we got that. So now I'm thinking about like, why don't I just use, why don't I just get some stuff that's like kind of out of pocket. And by out of pocket, like it's not a crate per se, but then you can imagine it as a crate. So like we can look at WortGen. WortGen's like a really great thing. So WortGen is like, they have like really cool, I see them all the time because they're always doing construction in the Bay Area. But they have really cool construction gear, more or less. And they have really good colors, really good like design. Like I have no idea like what the hell half of these do. But overall, they're just really like, it looks really solid. I don't know what to tell you, but they look really, really cool. So we can use some of that in there. So I think like these are the kind of things that you want to be looking at. And so normally for me, what I would do is I would probably just model like a 3D base and then draw on top of it, and then hope that I can like figure out some designs. So that's what I would normally do, because it's a little bit quicker than having to draw everything in perspective. So we could possibly do some of this actually right now, because it's like a transportation crate. So let's actually do that. So we can actually shoot. How am I gonna do this? Well, I just saved this out. So yeah, let me do this. So let me make like a reference board here, and then what we'll do is we're gonna take all these ideas and we're gonna drag them like into Blender in hopes that it will like solve our issues. Alright, cool. So we're gonna come back here. So before we go into like a 3D program, because I don't think we necessarily need to like right away, but where was the other crate? Hey, come back here. Where are you? Okay, so before we do this, let me save this out though, like before I forget. Because there's still a lot of cool things happening here. And we'll do this. So this is all the setup stuff. This is kind of like the boring stuff, unfortunately. So we'll call this just ref. I'll call this ref, and we'll save it as a JPEG. I don't think we need anything else. Ref, cool. So just looking at it as a whole, I think the issue for me is that a lot of the stuff seems to be very, very flat. You're not getting very many angles, and so if we were to kind of evaluate all of these guys as a whole, there's a lot of cool things happening in terms of overlap, in terms of angles, that I think we're kind of missing out on. So I think like areas like this, it feels very boring. Even the top of it doesn't feel like visually interesting, because there's all this kind of like empty space, but then when you do have things, it's a bunch of squares. So I feel like when you want to do like anything that has the word cryo or whatever, like just getting like an extra little edge is really, really important, I think. So instead of having like a very, very soft edge, which you have there, bevel to me is like an ultimate like sci-fi thing where like, why not just kind of bevel that edge a little bit? Something like that. That kind of stuff is really, really important. And then I think always having like something at an angle. Having things at angles are really, really important as well. I think we're kind of missing a lot of those ideas. And then also kind of like insets. So meaning that like if you were to draw, or I guess the word, you could probably think of the word Boolean. Like if we're drawing a plane, think of the idea of a Boolean, meaning that if you were to kind of cut into a shape, how would that kind of go into it? You know, little insets like that is kind of cool. And then also floating details, so thinking of like handles, those kind of things. And then cut lines are really important too. So you want to think about like how the thing was made. So let's say this is like a big kind of sheet of metal. Normally there might be possibly like a cut line like right in between the middle of this thing. And so that cut line is where two pieces are kind of put together. And then you would have to have some kind of like nut or bolt, something that's kind of like kind of merging the two together. So you might have like some kind of little piece like that these things are kind of merging together like so. So little things like that, I think you're kind of missing some of those details, in my opinion, like if you're really trying to kind of get that going. So that's some things that I would start to really, really think about if you're kind of building it out. And so this is where 3D, in my opinion, can be very, very helpful, because you can kind of really see around the whole thing and get a good sense about adding and subtracting. So I always think of shapes kind of like additive and subtractive. So to me, like if I'm drawing something, and let's just draw a. You want to think of this kind of like 3D, but you can do this in 2D though as well. Like you don't have to do it in 3D if you didn't want to. So what I mean by that is like when you're drawing your shapes, sorry, why do I have HSP? Sorry, there we go. So if I'm just laying out something right now, right, so if I'm laying out like a base, let's just say I'm laying out my base of a shape, but I'm just going to use it as perspective just because it's a little bit easier, yeah? So if I'm laying out my base and I'm drawing this as loosely as possible, sorry, this might be really bad perspective right now, so just bear with me. What I always want to think about is how are shapes kind of intersecting each other. So that's kind of like my very, very first priority thus far. So let's say that I have this shape. This is kind of like my main shape right here, right? Nothing too crazy. What I want to think about is how is it kind of intersecting, and where can I add stuff to it? So if that's my shape, and I'll erase all this crap here to kind of so I want you to kind of draw through it a little bit here. Cool. All right. I'll make this a little bit dark so we can kind of see it. So I'm trying to not like hold down shift right now. I'm trying to actually like draw a straight line in Photoshop, which is much easier said than done. Okay, so let's say that's our shape. We like it. So then I want you to think about is what happens when you intersect another shape with it. So if we were to do that, think about the idea of like an actual live Boolean. So let's take a green shape right here. And all we're doing is we're going to intersect it with this piece here. So I'm going to draw it separately. I'm going to try to keep the same perspective. So I'll draw it like the same way. And so there we go. So that is our crappy little shape that we just drew. And we can make this bigger or smaller, whatever you want to do with it. But anyways, you want to think about how it's going to intersect. So let's say that we're thinking about like this idea of a Boolean, right? How will this actually intersect the middle of this guy? So we could possibly draw this out. So what I'm actually going to do here is just to be a stickler for detail, I'm actually going to draw an X so we can find the center line here. So by drawing an X, center line lines up right there, okay? So let's say that we put it right in here. We want to put it like a little bit further or something like that. I mean, we could do whatever we want. So once we do that, and I'll probably just line it up just like that, what we then want to figure out is how is that actually intersecting. So what I'm saying is I want to make that a negative shape. I want it to be like a Boolean. I want it to cut into it. So what we do then is we would take that shape, and I'll just kind of use it like a pink, I guess, different color, is now the shape is this. It's going down, it's cutting out, it's going in, and it's coming down actually as well, right? So that is our new shape, and if we're drawing through the form, there we go. And then I'll turn off that layer. So that's our new shape that we have there. And if we want, we can then fill it with blue if we want to, because obviously we're painting blue of the original shape. And check it out, that's like our new shape. And I'll actually erase this now because we don't need that line to go through. And look at that. Now we have a brand new, that's kind of like an inset. And so that kind of idea is like how I think about it when I'm designing kind of like interesting forms, is like, am I insetting it? Am I adding to it? Am I subtracting to it? And the more you can think of it like this, I think the easier it is to kind of come up with like interesting designs. So I'll crosshatch this a little bit so we kind of able to see. Hopefully like that makes sense in terms of how we're building it. So the same thing, like if you wanted to add an angle, you would take a plane instead. You wouldn't necessarily take like a like an actual shape. You take a plane. But now you can even do something where you want to do additive, right? So let's say you wanted to do like an additive shape. Well, we can do the same thing. We can actually maybe duplicate this. The same thing that you would do in 3D, by the way. It's like, it's relatively the same thing. But let's say now you want to do like an additive shape or something. So, and more I'm realizing the perspective is super off. And all I gotta do is now just erase this stuff so this can be more centered. At any point in time, if I get lost, I can just use the perspective of other things. So everything is still kind of like isometric in a way. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm just like using the lines here as kind of like my guides. It's kind of a little quick cheat, I guess. Because I don't really care, because it's like, it's going to be like, I'm going to add on to it, you know what I mean? So let's say that on top of that though too, I'm going to do a little cut right here or something. So that cut, so I'm gonna do like a cut within a cut, kind of like Inception here. So forgive me now for doing that, but I think it's gonna be cool when I do it. So that's why I'm trying to create that idea. All right. So now let's say let's paint kind of in an additive way. So now I'm saying, you know what, I want to add this on top of it. So the same thing. If I want to, I'll just kind of lower the opacity this time too. And then I'll begin to kind of add a shape on top of it. And I'll paint this in purple this time for whatever reason. Why not? So let's see here. So this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky because I have to figure out where this thing is, how far it's going to be sitting. So if I hit this part right here, there we go. Cool. I figured it out. So we have a little plane. And so now that can be additive. And you can begin to kind of like move this around a little bit more as well. So that's like an extra shape there. And we know it's going back. So personally, I probably want this to go a little bit like further back. So that way it goes into it. So that's kind of like that's my first mistake. But it's okay because we can break it down there, right? And if I want to like think about the bevels, all that kind of stuff, we can do that. So that's probably like the way of thinking, less than like the actual design, is how I would think about like if I want to get like interesting, cool shapes. Like that's how I would begin to think about it. Except I've kind of messed it up because I put it on a tangent. So that's kind of my first no-no that you shouldn't do. So, Toby, relax. So yeah, that's kind of how I would begin to kind of base it. So you can start this off kind of like loose if you want to. It's up to you. So you can be super exact, or you can be like kind of loose with it. And usually, sometimes I think being loose on like pen and paper is probably the way to go, because then you don't really care as much about like the perspective and stuff. You're mostly just kind of caring about like the overall design. So you'll draw these things in and kind of figure it out, and you'll get kind of the overall idea. But I mean, if you can be exact with your perspective, then that's fine. But yeah, that's where like I would kind of sit there and just kind of take my time and kind of break some of those things down. And then obviously once you kind of get close to where you're like, when you like something, then you can kind of really use that to your advantage. So you can start to kind of like break down some of the shapes or whatever. And I feel like it's easier to do on pen and paper just because like you don't care as much. I don't know why that is, but people tend to like not care when it's like a sketchbook. So that's where I would kind of like take my time, and not take your time, but I would try to be as loose as possible, like in the drawing phase, and then try to refine it in the 2D phase. And then if you need more stuff, then you can just do it in 3D. But this is where I think 3D can really help you. So then let's say like I like this design, which is terrible, but like you could then go into 3D and like actually figure it out. Like that can be kind of super helpful. So let's just say I'll come back to this later. I don't really care. So let's go new general. Cool. All right. So let's scale it in the Y direction. Sorry, in the X direction. No, scale. So let's scale it in the. Whoops. Why is it not doing that? Come on. Scale in the Y direction. No, scale in the X direction. SX. There we go. Sorry. It was driving me insane for a second. Alright. There. And then I don't want it to go like too far over, so I'm just going to move the face. Cool. So now, yeah, so I think this is where you want to use the bevel stuff. Say it was done in Blender. Nice. So then I would probably just maybe use some of this as some inspiration. So now once I get there, we have that desktop image. Where was it? The ref. We'll just drag that in there. Cool. So we have the ref in there, and let's see what we can create. So like in my head, so what I want to do first is live mirror it, because I don't want to do more than I have to. So let's just live mirror, and cool. We don't want to bisect, and cool. There we go. So yeah, we can want to think about like the overall shape, you know, what we want to do with that. So let's figure it out. So you know, going in the front view, we could do all kinds of things, you know what I mean? Like, so for starters, maybe I want to like actually bevel it, you know, to get a little bit of more of a interesting form. Oops. Oh, why isn't it working? Oh, there we go. So we probably want this to be like the same, like across the board. So that's why we want to. Oops. There you go. See, like that's kind of cool. Now maybe we want to do some kind of insets, some kind of stuff like that. So maybe we can do some cool insets. Let's see. There you go. I imagine maybe we want to like bevel some things out, so why not? Let's just go inward. So yeah, I think like these kind of things are worth kind of like beveling out. So let's see if we can actually do that. Yeah, there you go. Push it in. That kind of stuff, and you could probably like smooth some of this stuff out too, like that kind of things. But that's a whole other. If you're willing to do it, it's a whole other thing. But now we're kind of getting into small details, and I probably don't want to do that. But what I do want to do is like kind of add some cuts here and there, that kind of stuff, where I think I'm going to need it. But for me, because I'm not going to try to like I'm not going to like texture this or whatever. I feel like I would just care about like just getting the overall shape, you know what I mean? So I would think about creating some like live booleans, that kind of stuff. So if I, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. So let me make the face on the bottom wider. Or actually, let me just make it like that, you know. And then let me drag this face in the Y. Oops. Because I want to get those like nice booleans, you know. So, oh shit. So I gotta hit P because I gotta unparent it. Because I'm an idiot. All right, cool. So we'll scale it in the Y direction, and then we'll go to face, and then we'll move it. There we go. Cool. So now we can make some cool booleans, that kind of stuff. Like that's probably what I would do. I mean, granted, I'm not the best at 3D, so live subtract. So look at that. Like that's kind of cool. And then maybe we can, let's just say I apply this kind of thing. Let's apply it. Alright, now we have a cool shape, and we can start kind of beveling certain edges. Like I may even want to go, oh man, I gotta make a cut. Alright, so maybe I have to just make a cut instead. Whoops, that's too much. So this might be good done in the front view. Whoops. Exit. Come on, get there. I don't know why it's not like kind of. Oh, there we go. I mean, I can always flatten it later, but there you go. Ah, didn't work. Whatever. Okay. So maybe we can create an inset instead. There's all kinds of things. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's interesting. But why isn't it live mirroring, though, is the question. Huh. That's interesting. Alright, so I'm not going to get too crazy into this now, because at this point, I no longer know what I'm doing. But I do want to create some more little insets in there. So this is where, personally, I would go in, Control Alt. Why is the pivot point over there? Oh, there it is. Cool. So this is where I will begin to kind of duplicate it onto itself and see, like, what I can create in terms of like interesting bevels and stuff, you know? Like that's kind of where I would be operating. Is like duplication on duplication on duplication and hoping that I can find something cool. So again, we'll Control B, live subtract. And so if I like already, like that's kind of cool. Like we're finding some like visually interesting shapes. Maybe what I want to do is I want to make that like in the Y direction. Like that's kind of cool. And then I'll just apply the boolean. All right. So then we can go into the edges and see. You can do all kinds of like cool stuff here. And then I definitely want to kind of like boolean this whole thing. I have no idea how it's going to work. So then we can do stuff like this. And then once I feel like I've got something nice, I wouldn't even render it. I would just bring it into Photoshop and just start to work on it. Like work on the details there is what I would do. Oh, come on. Give me that nice boolean. Not working. Alright, I guess. Oh wow, that hit it hard. Alright, cool. So now I can just move it. I'm just gonna move it like in the Y direction. So now if I want to, I can just drag that down, which is what I wanted to do, but for some reason the edge is getting like super weird. So I'll just redo it. That's fine. I don't mind. Because technically this would take a long time to do anyway if I was drawing it, so anyways. That's all I wanted, was a little bit of the bevel there or something. See? That's fine to me. And then if I do end up wanting to kind of like make a loop or something like that, which cutting is like really weird when you get there, when you get to this spot. But there are ways around it, I guess. If I could just do K. escape. Let's see if I can get this. I'm thinking that I can. Nope. So let's just try it this way. This way. I'll just hit enter. Okay. Yeah, I probably have to just do it one by one. That's fine. Cool. And then we'll go front. And then we'll just kind of flatten it out. So I think, there you go. So the side, let's go left. Cool. And top, there you go. Yeah. And then we'll do one more. Why not? So that I don't really care. Because, right, if we go to the back, right here, oh, it's already flat. Cool. So then now we can do like whatever we want to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you want to like add some more bevels and that kind of stuff, we now kind of have that option. So like now, if it was me, you know, maybe I want to just like move it back on that pivot. So we would do that and go in the X direction. Something like that. It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of silly. But that could totally work. Okay, cool. So then once we kind of get to this phase, oh, you know what? I kind of like this idea of like drawing in a little shape here. See, that's cool. So I'm just going to use the cut tool to my advantage here. That's cool. So let's go to the front. Make sure everything's lined up. Top. There you go. There you go. Cool. And then we could totally do like an inset or something. But of course we have to get rid of that later, but that's okay, because we can paint that out later or something. And we can always merge that stuff down, so I'm not tripping. But I am wondering why that didn't work out the first time. Oh, that's what happened. Okay, well we can fix that. There you go. There we go. And then go to view, front. I'm just gonna get these edges to all be straightened out, that's all. Cool, let's try that again. I wonder if deleting the edge will actually do anything if I do it. What happens if I delete the edge? Nope, alright, I guess we're not doing that. There's probably a reason why that I just don't understand, and I'm sure someone will tell me later off stream why I can't do that. Cool. So let's say that's our whole thing. We'll probably just make it a little bit more inward. Ooh, that's interesting. So now we're getting some interesting shapes in general here. So then, cool. So we can do that. Alt print screen, which is, I'm not sure if it's even worth it to be honest, like at that point, but I feel like you could do some cool things now from that. You could just kind of take that and see what you can draw on top of it. And to me, that's where like the fun happens, is when you can start to kind of get more like different ideas of color, material. Like material plays a really big part in there. So there's kind of like all kinds of things you can be doing. So like I really like this idea right here. I like how that kind of opens up. So now, but what's cool about it too is that now we kind of have like the perspective references here that we didn't have before. So now we can just kind of use a lot of those points as kind of reference here. Whoops. And now we can start kind of designing on top of it, and we don't have to really worry about like the proportions as much because we have all this stuff kind of figured out. So there's a little bit of a 3-point perspective going on here, so that kind of sucks. So I have to kind of like draw that in, but that's okay. It could be worse. Cool, right? So you see all this kind of overlapping that we're getting. We're, I don't know, getting all kinds of like interesting things here. I don't think it sucks. It's just I think we can do, like, it could be really cool. You know what I mean? Like if you look at like loot boxes and stuff, like you could really push this idea of like what a loot box like does and like how things are, you know, transported, especially when it's like sci-fi. Like you can really like do some really cool stuff. So I think you can just push it further. Like you want someone to kind of like look at it and be like, yo, what is that? You know what I mean? Like you can start to have like logos and stuff like that. So like normally you might have like a logo or some kind of color thing to kind of indicate like if it's important, right? There's all kinds of things you could be doing there that I think we're kind of missing out on a little bit. So maybe here we kind of actually fill that with like an actual like rubber material or something. In my head is like, oh, it's going to be like a rubber material that's going to sit on it and stuff like that. So you start thinking of like the edges, those kind of things, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like where I would be going with it, like in terms of an assignment. And I get that it's probably not the funnest thing to do, but it can be fun. Like if you really kind of like, oh shit, the thing froze. Give me a second. Let's probably. Ah, crap. Oh, we're good. Cool. It's a really fun time, I think, if you really start to kind of think about the little insets, all that kind of stuff here. Like, there's a lot of cool things you could be doing in terms of lighting, in terms of material, really kind of pushing these ideas. Like, already I'm thinking about it, like, pretty graphically now. Like, I'm thinking about it, like, two tones. I think that's where you want to operate, too, I think, for a little bit as well. Is just think about like graphically like where things could be at. That's what I would start to do. So to give you an example, sorry. So I said like I get that it's an assignment, so it may not be the most exciting thing, but I think there's ways you can make it fun. Like you can get really excited about it. So a good example of this, not the best example, is I'll just kind of provide like stuff that I did back in the day. That were like loot box-ish, like crates, you know. And I don't like to use. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I think it's an example. I think of where it can possibly go, and maybe it will help you. Yeah. So let's see here. I'm just kind of on my page real quickly here. So these are some examples of like back in the day I did. Is that it? Yeah. So these are back in the day of things like we did called like portal packs. So they were just loot boxes, but we called them portal packs. But these were cool ideas that we did, and we didn't have a lot of geometry to work with. But you can see all the notes I was taking and stuff like that, and how I described it to my art director at the time. It was actually really, really fun to actually do. To think about animations, to think about like what the effects would be. So I'm kind of thinking of it of like in a game. So that's like how deep I got into this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I really kind of like was like, yo, this is how I imagine it opening and stuff like that. And then we even like broke it down to like more graphic shapes, which is I think what you can do too. I even talked about like what was going to be inside of it, and this was like a lot of weeks worth of work. Unfortunately, we really broke some stuff down. I did some like small renders in 3D using the glow effect in Maya, which if I did it in Blender was probably way easier now to think about it. We did some really cool stuff in here, trying to really explore like how it might possibly work. Again, I did like a bunch of things, like even talking about how you might actually build it. I even did renders in 3D, or took a picture of my hand. It's a picture of my hand in my house, and I actually put it in there. So that's how far I went to kind of break it down. And then I even went as far as to like create like animatics and stuff like that as well. So if we were to go in here and let's see here, After Effects, store animation, comp 1, comp 2, comp 3. I would even make let's see. I can't. How do I move this over? No, I don't want you to be over here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how I can move this over. Okay, here we go. Cool. So I'm gonna move this over. I'm gonna move that over. So cool. So we even kind of made like these little things where I actually drew the thing, and then I would use like pre-rendered animations and talk about like how it might possibly appear, how it might reappear, like that kind of stuff. So we did stuff like that, talking about the store, and then we go in there and talk about the screen and how you might possibly click on something, and then something would appear, like whatever item you got. This would be like a skin or like an emote. So we did like a lot of exploration, just trying to figure out like how something might transition to each screen. So there's a lot of things we did there that could be cool. So I think if anything, you just got to kind of envelop yourself just a little bit more in like the process of like where are you going to see it, what's it going to do. And I think it's more of like a story thing. So I think the more that you kind of get with the story of it, I think the more fun it will be for you. Because right now it just doesn't feel like there's much of like it feels kind of generic in the brief, and I feel like all these kind of things can kind of help you moving forward. So that's kind of my 2 cents. But I mean, I know you're capable of drawing because I've seen your work plenty of times, so I know what you're capable of doing. So I know you can do it. I think now you're in a position where it's like everyone can draw. So now it's not even a matter of like who's good at drawing, but who kind of has the best idea, and how do you express that idea. So I think that's where like I'd want to see where you're going with it. So yeah, sorry I didn't do some like crazy draw over, but hopefully that does give you like some ideas. I think if anything, it's just like a more of a mindset thing of like how I want you to start thinking about something, or how I would suggest it. I don't want you to do whatever I tell you, but hopefully this will introduce you to other ways of thinking about it that you may not have thought about before. And if you can do that, then I think that's good. So cool. Yeah, man. Australia in the house. Yowies, what's up? So yeah, so big ups to my homie Jaden for submitting that. I think that's great that you're putting yourself out there. Much appreciative. So again, this is a feedback Thursday for people that are coming in. So Thursdays is your day that if you want to get some kind of feedback. Again, these are all just my opinions. You don't have to take them seriously. You can tell me that I'm an idiot. And you're able to submit stuff. So Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm still working on the time. Some people have mentioned that maybe the 7 p.m. Pacific time isn't the best. So if you have like better ideas for that, you can type that in the chat or message me personally and we'll figure it out. But for now, 7 p.m. is kind of the best time because it's like not too late for East Coast, and then it's kind of early in the morning for like people overseas. So I got to figure out like the best time to do that. But yeah, so then Tuesdays we're just regular painting, just trying out different things. Right now I've been doing a lot of Blender because I'm taking a Blender class. And then Thursdays is Feedback Thursdays. So I appreciate Jaden for being a good sport and coming through. Maybe one day I'll be out in Australia. Who knows? You never know. So yeah, so if there aren't any more questions, let me see real quickly. There are people that are watching. So we got a couple on YouTube, a couple on Twitch. So if you're not following me on YouTube, by the way, I always like... why is it stopped on Picardo? That's dumb. That's dumb. All right, if you're not following me on YouTube, just type in my name, Kalen Chalk, YouTube. Please follow me there so I can get to my 100 followers, so that way I can finally change my name. Yeah, once I'm in Australia, yep, I gotta keep it real for the Australian people. All right, cool. So yeah, if there aren't any more questions, come by. Also, a quick announcement as well. We will be at Lightbox Expo, booth 208. I will be selling some prints. I'm officially... Oh, I gotta pay the shipping fee. I gotta do this right afterwards. Thanks for reminding me, everybody. But AJ's selling a book. You can only get it there. It's like some of his sketchbook, his like sketchbook stuff. So that's probably worth getting because it's kind of a chill, like, you know, very laid back kind of, but, you know, not too much thought into it. Just, you know, this cool concepts I've done over the years. And I'm selling prints. So if you are going to be at Lightbox Expo in the next month or so, please come by and say hi. We'll be hanging out. I'm sure we'll be doing all kinds of interesting events and having all kinds of meetups, stuff like that. So cool. In the meantime, I will see you guys later. Appreciate you guys for stopping by. And I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Cool. All right, guys. As always, take care and peace out. All right, let me go to my thing here. And we will officially... So, quickly, Raisin Brand, if you want to submit for the critique, if you scroll up in the chat, there should be a link. So, I'll do it again, even though we're already kind of ending today. So, we only go for about an hour because I'm kind of busy. But here, I'll show you. So, real quickly. So, there's a link here. And can I copy this link? We'll find out. So that link right there, what happens is I post that in the chat, and then what you do is you go to that link, and what should happen is if you go to that link, I'll do it right here on my screen, it will take you to a file, and then you can upload it. You can upload your work there, and then as long as you're in the chat, you set to message me in the chat and say, hey, I uploaded something, then I'll get it. So it goes into my personal Dropbox folder. So no, it's no problem. So that's how it does. That's how I do it every Thursday. So the beginning of the stream, I'll post the link. If for some reason you get there late, you don't see it, just ask me again in the chat, and I will post it there. And then where it ends up showing up is it ends up showing up in my Dropbox under file requests, and it shows up right there. So that's where it was. And then if I do anything that's worth saving, then I will give you a link to my Twitch folder, and that's where I save out files. So that's where I saved it out last time. So last time I did a PSD, I did a feedback with somebody, I think it was Darnell, and then he got his, oh, here we go. I saved out an image for Darnell that we painted over. This was last week, so this one, when I gave him a link to it so he could download it. So that was his image, and that was my suggestions. So there you go. So yeah, if you want to do that, just come back next Thursday, and I'll be around. Appreciate it. So I need to go probably work out, do some workout stuff, do my Blender homework, and then maybe play some Apex Legends, which eventually I probably need to start streaming it, because people were like, you should probably stream it, and I don't know about it because I'm not that good, but I'm all right at it. So anyways, I will see you guys later. As always, take care, and peace out. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks for watching.